You don't need me to tell you that food has been getting more expensive. Households have seen food prices soar by 37% in the last 5 years. Trouble is, food isn't something that we can just axe from our budgets. And while I can easily just about grow a pot of basil on the windowsill, I can't exactly raise farmyard animals in the back garden. The cat would lose her mind. So as prices rise, and yet somehow influencers are out here decanting cereals and juice into pretty boxes and jars, I've been focusing on realistic ways I can keep my food costs down. These simple food shop habits have saved us over £1,000 in the last year. I think they can save you money too. First of all, and this one may surprise you, don't assume that the cheapest supermarket is always the best value. Every month, Which magazine publishes like a league table of the different supermarkets and how much a very average basket of groceries costs from each one. And this always very clearly shows Aldi and Lidl as coming out on top as the cheapest supermarket in the UK. But something that I've learned in the past year is that the cheapest supermarket does not always result in the cheapest food shop, depending on what it is that you're buying for your family. When I meal plan and write out a shopping list, I'm thinking about 3 really key things: quantity, cost, first of all, but also quality. And tied into that as well is tastes, because when you have kids, if you serve them up something that they sincerely dislike, as I'm sure you're well aware, it's kind of a nightmare. This is a balance that we obviously all have to find for ourselves, but some things in certain supermarkets are not such great quality and have also fallen foul of shrinkflation. So this is where the price of something has gone up, but the size of the actual product has decreased. I think Cadbury chocolate is a very good example of this. Other things may be a bit more expensive, but the weight and the quality make it a better alternative. Marks & Spencer is the supermarket that has really shocked me on this. While their reputation is all Percy pigs and £195 beef Wellingtons, yes, really, their own brand staples can actually be cheaper than the branded goods you can find on the shelves at Tesco. For example, their ketchup is cheaper than Heinz ketchup and gets rave reviews from my family. It's also cheaper than some other supermarket own brands as well. Their soup is also super cheap and delicious. Same with their basic bread, their butter, their chicken wings are amazing and very good value. Plus their basic fruits and veggies, things like a lettuce and a cucumber, those come in at just 90p. And by the way, while we're on this subject, I really rate their frozen croissants. These are great to have in the freezer for weekends when you wake up on a Saturday morning and just feel like a bit of a treat for breakfast. I also really rate their cleaning products and I think the prices are really good. Their washing up liquid is fantastic, as is their kitchen spray. It says kitchen spray on it, but I use it as a multi-purpose spray all around the house. So what I'm saying here is don't write off a supermarket because of the branding, and don't assume that the supermarkets that everyone lauds as the cheapest are necessarily going to deliver you the best value. The trick is to know your price points on the stuff that you buy all of the time and compare, and also consider quality as well and what your family like to eat. Let me just give you a specific example of this. So Aldi. I like to dip in and out of Aldi, but it is not somewhere, to be honest, that I do my weekly shop because there are some branded goods that we can't get in there. We have tried their own brand orange juice. Fantastic, we love it. We go back to buy that all the time. But then in their meat section, we've tried their gammon before and we did not like it. The entire consensus, the whole family consensus was this was not nice and we will not be buying this again. So my point is things can be hit and miss. Now I don't do all of our weekly shops at M&S, but I also no longer write it off as being pointless to visit because it's out of our price range. It actually isn't, depending on what you buy there. And this is why I've come to the conclusion that it's not necessarily about where you shop, it's about how you shop. You need to make that meal plan, you need to make that shopping list, and you need to have a basic awareness of the things that your family like, the things that you buy all of the time, and what is a good cost for those things. Now you could do a little bit of research online for this. There are apps that will actually do some price comparison for you, things like the Trolley app. I think it's entirely possible to overspend in Aldi, particularly if you get sucked into that middle aisle of special bargain goodies and dupes. But you can also underspend in places like M&S, depending on what you pick up. And look, if you love shopping at Aldi, you find that's great value for you, fantastic. This is not about me slagging off Aldi or Lidl both are great supermarkets. But being intentional and making a decent plan, your shopping list and your meal plan, is more powerful than loyalty to any supermarket. The next tip is to cook once and eat twice, or maybe even thrice. One of the biggest shifts that we've made this year is to double up on what we cook at dinner, and that way tomorrow's lunch or dinner is already sorted. In order to do this, I will often buy in bulk, which is cheaper, but I've also found something that's been really important that I hadn't really paid enough attention to is portion control. When you cook meals that you really like, it's very easy to go back for seconds because it was nice. Like, you may well be full, but you really enjoyed that shepherd's pie, so why not go back? What I'm trying to do now is that, yes, I am buying slightly bigger packs of meat or cooking extra potato with bolognese. I might be cooking extra pasta, but I'm being really strict on portion control. Everyone gets a decent portion, enough to fill them up. I don't know how you feel about this, but I certainly think that we have been guilty of overestimating how much it is we need to eat in order to be full, because eating is so enjoyable, sometimes it's kind of hard to stop. By cooking in this way, by cooking deliberately to produce leftovers, when I'm doing a meal plan, that means that I'm planning fewer dinners. And if I'm planning fewer dinners, I'm not having to buy as many different ingredients. That automatically means that the shop is cheaper. Yes, sometimes I'm having to buy bigger packs of mince, but what I'm finding actually is that if I can bulk out those things with things like beans, pulses, bit of extra rice, maybe a little oven cooked baguette on the side in order to fill people up, it's okay. I'm not actually having to buy an enormous pack of mince in order to make that work for 2 meals, for 4. I used to look at leftovers and really consider them to be disposable. Now I look at them as £10 that I don't have to spend going to the supermarket to buy dinner for tonight. Now, I know a lot of people love to do a full week of meal prep on a Sunday. I have not gone down that route yet. Maybe that's something I'll try at some point. But what I do is when I have a set of ingredients that lends itself to being doubled up, such as chili, lasagna, bolognese, shepherd's pie, curry, I will do that. When we're doing a roast dinner, I will cook the entire bag of potatoes. I'll stick any leftovers in the fridge, then I'll cut them into quarters the next day, fry them in a little bit of oil on the hob, and they make some nice crispy fried potatoes to have with the cold meat the next day. If you don't particularly like repetition, and I do understand that, you can always try to use the same ingredients in different ways. For example, a burger mix can also be used to make meatballs. So one day you can have burgers, the next day you can have meatballs and pasta. And leftover chili could be served in jacket potatoes instead of with rice. Also, as part of this, I've tried to find ways to make the dinners we cook all the time a little bit more interesting, using simple, cheap ingredients we always have in. One example of this is cucumber. It used to be something where I'd have it in the fridge to slice up and put in the kids' lunchboxes, or for them to have as a snack. I would cut it into sticks so that they could dip it in some hummus. However, I've gotten really into cucumber as a side dish for us at dinner. So I'll get the cucumbers, I'll cut them up into rounds, then cut those in half. I'll put them in a little dish, and then I'll add a little bit of white wine vinegar and a little bit of salt, mix it all together, and it just makes a really nice side dish with certain things. The things we've been having it with the most is where we'll have a flatbread, a little bit of meat, say some chicken that's been marinated in some paprika, some cayenne maybe, and then cooked in the oven or fried. We'll add that into the flatbread with a little bit of lettuce, and then we'll have that cucumber in there too. And it just adds a really nice bit of crunch and a really nice extra bit of flavour. The next one is cutting back on beef. The cost of beef has gone up by over 27% in the last year. It is not amusing, just like that pun. Some packs now are £13 per kilogram. It is insane. Now you could try switching to pork mince, which is around half the price, or you could buy smaller packs of beef, small pack of pork mince, mix them together in whatever dish that you're making just to try and bring the price down a little bit. However, if you really love your beef mince, then I've been trying to bulk mine out with other ingredients. And even though I'm trying to use less mince in my recipes, I will still buy the big pack of mince, the big 1 kilogram pack of mince, split it up into portions, and then freeze it in portions for the next meals. But to be honest, ultimately, the best way to save money on this is just to buy less. And to be honest, I think I've been guilty of eating way too much red meat, so this is actually no bad thing. Now, if your kids are anything like mine, maybe they're a little bit fussy about seeing extra bits added into their bolognese or into their cottage pie. One option that I do a lot is to make a sort of basic tomato sauce, cook your vegetables in there, and then whiz it up in a food processor. Blend it so that it's completely smooth and they can't see the extra vegetables in there, but you've bulked out that sauce a bit. We've cut back beef mince to having it just once a fortnight. And when we do have it, I cook big portions so we can have it the next night as well. Another great, easy habit to save money on your food is to make simple swaps. A whole roast chicken is not just for your Sunday lunch. Now, I know that if you are coming back from work, the idea of roasting a whole chicken will have you like, Vic, where do I find the time to collect the kids, argue about homework, tidy away the coats and shoes, plan for tomorrow, pack their bags, and roast a whole chicken on a Wednesday night? I hear you. But did you know you can halve the amount of time it takes a whole chicken to cook by cutting it down the middle and flattening it out? This is called spatchcocking. This is a significant time saving in how long it takes for you to cook this chicken. This whole chicken that I cooked for my family the other night was less than £5, whereas the packs of chicken breasts that I was also looking at were over £7 a kilogram. And I don't know about you, but I actually think that chicken that is cooked on the bone tastes a lot nicer. And the great thing is that then at the end of all that, you've got the chicken carcass, you can boil that up and make soup for another night of dinners, or stock in order to use in other recipes such as your curries or your pasta sauces. Other simple swaps to make are swapping branded items for the generic ones, particularly in areas where you're just really not going to notice the quality and taste. One example of this for me is oil for frying and cooking. I always now buy the supermarket own unless there's some incredible offer on, because it is so much cheaper than the branded oils. Another big area for this is medication. So many of your supermarket own brand medications, such as the aspirins, the paracetamols, they have exactly the same amount of the key ingredient, what it is you are buying, the medicine, as the expensive branded ones, where you're basically paying for the marketing of that product as well as the product itself. So have a little look at the packs. You'll be amazed. If you look at, like, say, for example, the packs of kids' painkillers, you look at the back, you will see that the active ingredient, the key thing, the thing that's actually doing the job of taking away pain, making them feel more comfortable, or taking away a fever, it's exactly the same. It's often less than half the price. The next tip is don't get stuck in a routine. A really weird thing I noticed that I was doing wrong with my grocery shop is that I was very stuck in a loop of buying the same things every single week. And I wasn't looking up to look around me to see if there was a better deal. When I did finally look up, I found that there are a lot of cheaper options staring right at me. When you're in the habit, you'll automatically grab the same pasta, the same pack of chicken thighs, the same packet of pork, without noticing that actually a different cut or a different size pack is actually going to work out much better value for you. Now, sometimes the price difference is tiny, but over 52 weeks, it really adds up. This definitely doesn't mean you should throw away your meal plan and list. Those are still really key, but you definitely need a little bit of flexibility when you hit the supermarket, because you really want to take advantage of offers that can help you with your meal plan. And by the way, when it comes to meal planning, this amazing spreadsheet has helped me so much. I've inputted all of the recipes that we like to cook on a regular basis as a family for dinner into there. And then when I'm meal planning, all I need to do is tap on the particular dinners that we're going to have that week, and it fills out the shopping list for me. I can then review that shopping list, take off any ingredients that we already have, and it's all ready for me to go to the supermarket and do our shopping. When there are offers, I always bulk buy items that have a longer shelf life, even if they're not on my shopping list. This is why flexibility is really important. Things like laundry detergent and dishwasher capsules and shampoo and conditioner and toothpaste, the smoothies that the kids really like to have in their lunchbox. These are things that when they are on offer, I will buy them up. And that might mean that that week's shop is a little bit more expensive, but it's saving me money over the course of the entire year. The kids really love these expensive smoothies in their lunchbox. We tried them on the Aldi ones. They weren't big fans. So I'm happy to buy them things like this that are branded when I know that I'm making savings in other areas. Now, every few weeks or so, these go on offer. Because they have a really long shelf life, I buy several boxes of them and store them in the fridge. I really think these simple swaps are about priorities. There are some branded items that your family will just prefer. So I look for the swaps that we can make that we won't really notice to save money. Keep the snacks simple. The supermarkets of 60 years ago were smaller and simpler. Now we have these massive warehouses where we wander around like zombies, desperate to find a way out. There are now aisles full of snack products, largely specifically marketed at kids, but for adults as well. It's quite overwhelming. The thing is, none of these aisles contain things that are part of an essential balanced diet. Now, that's not to say that I don't go into those aisles and buy those things, but I don't buy all the snacks. I buy a few key convenient snacks, maybe 1 or 2 boxes of things a week that we can just chuck in as a snack for the kids after school if they have a club. But so many of these are really just empty calories, and so they're not something that I have allowed to become a big part of our food shop. Things like biscuits and these sort of processed fruit snacks, they're fine to buy. Don't get me wrong, I do still buy them, but I'm just saying they do not make up a huge part of our weekly shop. What I've tried to do instead is really focus on very simple snacks, such as little cubes of cheese and fruit and veggies, maybe with a dip such as peanut butter, which obviously you need to be careful about packing in a school lunchbox. Most schools are nut-free, or some hummus. And finally, say no to the cleaning aisle. The cleaning aisle is massively overstocked. I've always been a big fan of Mrs. Hinch. I think she's really entertaining, but normal people do not need all of these cleaning products. Your laundry does not need a different scent booster to suit your mood. You don't need a cleaning spray for every different corner of your home. You can cut way back to just the basics. 1 multi-purpose spray, some bleach, whatever you need to put in your dishwasher if you have one, washing up liquid, laundry detergent. To be honest, even just a little vinegar, baking soda and dish soap. These are often the only things that you really need in order to clean everything in your home. So those are the habits that have saved us some serious money on our food budget this year. We've got no viral restock videos, no aesthetic fridge, no complicated system. It's just very, very normal life, but done with a little bit more intention. Thank you so much for sticking with me to the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like, and also let me know, what is your go-to budget-friendly dinner? I'd love to hear your ideas. I'm always looking for fresh dinner ideas. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.